Hello AP Biology students, let's go over section 11 in Unit 1. And this is going to be our last section. This is going to be the section about nucleic acids. Now, nucleic acids are a really interesting and important type of macromolecule that we're going to talk about later on in the units in AP Biology. I like to mention to my students that we're going to briefly cover nucleic acids here, but we're going to go a lot more in depth when we go into genetics later on in Unit 5 and 6. Now, the monomer that makes up nucleic acids is known as a nucleotide. And nucleotides are made of carbons, hydrogens, oxygens, nitrogens, and phosphorus. And that last element of phosphorus is unique for nucleic acids. The main function of nucleic acids is that they hold genetic information. Between the nucleotides is something called a phosphodiester bond. This is a nucleotide, and it's made of 3 different parts. First part is this pentose sugar, which is just a sugar molecule. The second part of a nucleotide is the phosphate group, which you can see here, and is made of a phosphorus atom surrounded by 4 oxygen atoms. Since this phosphate group is a part of the nucleotide, DNA is considered polar. Our last feature of a nucleotide is the nitrogen base or nitrogenous base. Now, for each of the nucleotides that we find in nucleic acids, the phosphate group and sugar are usually the same. What changes or determines the type of nucleotide we're looking at is the type of nitrogen base that is accompanied with the nucleotide. 2 of the most common examples of nucleic acids are DNA and RNA. You can see in our DNA nucleotide, it's made of a sugar known as deoxyribose, a phosphate group, and a base. 4 different types of bases that make up DNA are thymine, adenine, cytosine, and guanine. RNA is a little bit different. It's single-stranded and it has ribose as a sugar instead of deoxyribose. It's still made of a phosphate group and a base. However, in this type of nucleic acid, thymine is replaced with uracil. So both of these nucleic acids function as genetic storage, that being DNA of long-term genetic storage and RNA being more short-term genetic storage. I like to also mention ATP and ADP in this section because they are technically nucleotides, which makes them nucleic acids. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, while ADP stands for adenosine diphosphate. And hopefully you can guess, ATP has 3 phosphate groups, while ADP has 2 phosphate groups. These molecules act as the energy currency for the cell. Basically, what happens is ATP is a high energy molecule with a lot of energy between the last 2 phosphate groups. Whenever this last phosphate group unbinds or breaks off from ATP, the molecule becomes ADP and releases energy that the cell is going to use. To remake ATP, your body is going to use energy and store it between these 2 bonds. I like to think of ADP and ATP like a battery. We have a charged battery with ATP and a dead battery with ADP. We can use the battery, which is going to, again, use the energy, but we get some type of energy from that battery. And then what we can do after the battery is dead is recharge it. So again, this is basically the energy currency of our cells, in which we take in food, transfer that energy into ATP, and then our body uses ATP for its functions. I absolutely love this meme because it shows, again, DNA and RNA being the genetic information or the genetic code for life in general, that being of proteins. And then I also found this one. This is a pretty good one. Protein does all the work. DNA stores all the data. RNA, it's about sending a message. That's good. That's really good.